Hello everybody, this is thejonnymar, and welcome back after a very long time to Final Fantasy I for the PSP. Of course, this is the Dawn of Souls version of the game. So we are currently outside of one of the bonus dungeons we completed in my previous episodes, the first two of them, and now we're actually going to skip the third one and go right to the fourth one, and that is the Whisperwind Cove. Now, there's something a little bit different about this dungeon and how I'm going to be presenting that, and basically what I'm going to do is only show the significant floors, so floors that require a little bit of a puzzle element to them I will show, and also the boss battles. So any floor that is just running around until you find the exit, I'm going to cut those out because otherwise this would take forever to show. Alright, so here we are on the 6th floor of the Whisperwind Cove, and this is the first of our puzzle rooms. And so up to this point, it's just been kind of running around, basically finding treasure chests that are randomly located, and also finding the exits when possible. Now, basically in these various levels, you're going to find ice levels, you're going to find lava levels, you're going to find levels that are forest in nature, and then occasionally you're going to find these puzzle levels. Now this level is the basically robot graveyard, and so what you need to do is go around and check all of the various robots until you find 2 parts, and then you can use those to reactivate the little friend of our buddy up there. So we got one of the parts, and that is the AI chip. So now we need to find one more, and the robots are out here on the ground and also in some of the buildings. So if you're not able to find the other part or even both parts on the robots that are out here, then you're going to want to head inside the buildings. And it is randomly located, so basically, you know, it's going to take some running around. Even watching this, you know, the parts in your game are not necessarily going to be in the same location as the parts in my game, which perhaps is a good thing. Maybe you'll find your parts a little bit quicker. This is actually taking a little bit of a while to do, but hopefully we'll get it very soon. Ah, there we go. The head parts to go along with the AI chip. Not sure how that robot fell into the ground like that. I don't know if the ground collapsed below him or what exactly was going on. But now we can repair the friend, and that will open up the exit to the next level, and we will continue onward. Alright, so basically I got to the first checkpoint, so to speak. It's not really a checkpoint, but the first boss level of the Whisperwind Cove. This dungeon is 40 floors deep. It is the deepest of the bonus dungeons, and that's because it's supposed to be the last dungeon. Now, the reason I'm skipping the third dungeon is because the bosses of that are actually the most difficult bosses in the game. So I want to do this dungeon first, get some items from it, and then we'll take on the third dungeon, which is the Lifespring Grotto. So the bosses of the Whisperwind Cove are all different characters from Final Fantasy VI. And they're actually going to use the battle music, a remix of it, for the fights. So I'm going to let you just experience that battle music for a bit. Pretty awesome remix. And you'll notice in front of us we have Typhoon, or Typhon, or Chupon, as he used to be back in the original translation of Final Fantasy VI, when it was Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo. He will always be Chupon to me. And he's not terribly difficult. He has about 10,000 hit points. But what's difficult about him is he can do an instant death ability, and that is his snort ability. So unlike in Final Fantasy VI and most of the other Final Fantasy games that he's in, as he uses it on Jester, Snort will remove you in those games from the battle, and you will not be able to continue with that character. But in this game, in this version of this fight, all it does is automatically kill your character. And because of the level we're at, chances are our characters are mostly going to be able to dodge that. I would guess maybe Jester would be most susceptible since he is a knight and he doesn't have the greatest magic evasion. But if he does target other characters, we should be able to dodge it. So then all we need to do is wear him down. So we'll use our physical attacks. They're not going to do a ton of damage. Or at least they're not going to do damage if he keeps killing Jester. So maybe it'll be up to Paul Nakutsu. See if my ninja can actually take out Typhoon. Or Typhon, sorry. I always pronounced it as Typhoon. I know there's no second O, but Now, seeing Typhon here, most of you that have played Final Fantasy VI, or even, I think, one of the later Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy 13-2, I think, in the battle arena in that game, they actually brought back Typhon and also his running mate, so to speak, from Final Fantasy VI. And we actually get to take on him in this dungeon as well. I don't want to give too much away here, but yeah, he's one of my favorite bosses in the entire series outside of Final Fantasy VI. So that'll be pretty cool to be able to take him on. All of the bosses, as I mentioned, are patterned after Final Fantasy VI. So being my favorite game in the series, you know, this dungeon and the music and the characters I get to fight, this is my favorite dungeon of the bonus dungeons. Dang it. I wish we were doing more damage. Now, it's not as bad as the final boss in this dungeon, who has really high defense, even when you boost your characters. So that battle is going to take forever, and chances are what I'm going to do is just edit it. I'll probably just cut about halfway through the battle until the end of the battle, because basically all we're going to be doing is wearing them down the entire time, and that is going to take probably like a half hour to do. Stop doing your stupid snort. I know it's your Uber ability, but it's not doing anything except killing Jester. Ow. We'll get you yet. Now, the most interesting kind of version of this character to me was in Final Fantasy VII, where they turned him into a summon materia that you could actually get in the ancient forest. Leave Jester alone! And I think it was wind-based, actually. So when you summoned him, he would do a wind-based attack, kind of like Tornado. So that was always weird to me. Because obviously the way that they build the character up in the other games, you know, he's not a Esper, he's not a Eidolon, or, you know, whatever else the various names are of the summon creatures in different Final Fantasies. But I guess for that game they wanted to include him, you know, have him as part of the cast, so they did what they had to do. Wow, all of 72 damage, nice. And yeah, my magic is not gonna... Oh, great! Now Jester and Nakutsu are dead. Both of my damage dealers. Okay, so let's see here. We gotta rebuff these guys and hope that he doesn't keep snorting us to death. We are not cocaine. Leave us alone. Pretty standard fight otherwise, if he stops killing us. And since Snort's an instant kill, it doesn't really pay to use all life or full life. Ugh. What's that? I buffed up Nakutsu? Death. Whew, missed. So the first two bosses of this dungeon are actually, well, they all have roughly 10,000 hit points, and then the final dungeon boss has about 20,000 hit points, which is significantly different than his form in Final Fantasy VI, where he had, I want to say like 51,000. There we go. Typhon is down. Not that we really get anything for this. I think I'll eat, yeah. Well, the Genji helm. I guess that's useful. Not sure it's gonna replace our ribbons, but ah well. Okay, so that's one boss down, and that's 3 to go. Probably only do 2 of them in this episode, and we'll do the other 2 next time. So we'll continue onward, continue downward to another puzzle room. Alright, so this, I think, is the Beaver Room. So let's see. Basically in this room, if I'm correct, yeah, there's a bunch of beavers. Or I assume they're beavers. And this guy will want you to put a certain number of them into the right and left room. And he's like, I would hate to impose, but basically you have to do it to keep going. So all you need to do is talk to them and tell them which way to go. And as long as you keep track, you know, you'll be fine. So I think he said it was 6 and 5. So 6 one way, 5 the other. Some of them are moving much faster than the others, so they're gonna be a little bit harder to get to. But we'll do this nice tedious little task. I'm reminded of gathering Kukos in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time in Kakarika Village. But, we're almost done here. And then once you are finished, go talk to him again. I think so. Success! Alright, let's get the heck out of here. Okay, so here we are, 20th floor. That means our second boss. Now, it's randomly generated. Usually the first boss is Typhon. The last boss is usually the final boss that we'll get to. And then this boss can be one of 2. Oh man. It's who I thought it was. 8-armed. That can only mean it's time for seafood soup. Now, Orthros, as he's called here, and I mean, it's unclear. His name was Ultros in Final Fantasy VI, and then when they did some of these remakes, they changed his name to Orthros, but then they changed it back in some of the later games to Ultros, so it's kind of unclear which is his name. I think it's Ultros. I think that's what they've kind of settled on. But here he's called Orthros. I would assume Orthros is closer to the actual Japanese name. But his main attack is going to be physical attacks, and then he also does blind through ink here. Since we have ribbons on everybody, we should be fairly well defended against that. So it should not hit us with the darkness status effect. So like Typhon, we're just going to continue to wear him down. Since he doesn't do an instant kill attack, this should go a little bit quicker. Unless he nails us with a physical attack like that and takes out my red mage, jeez. I guess that'll serve as a instant attack. Now I think Ultros here has 15,000-ish hit points. I could be wrong. So he really shouldn't take too long, because we're doing, you know, about 14 to 2,500 points of damage each attack. And I'm not sure if he's actually weak to fire again, like he was in Final Fantasy VI. I would assume so. It's accurate. Not that I have anyone who can really do a fire ability. I mean, my red mage has fire magic, but his magic stat is crap. Dang you, Squaresoft, nerfing the red mage in this version. But like I said, it really shouldn't take that long considering we're doing that much damage to him. Of course, he'll probably whip out some unknown ability like Ultima and take us all out. Ouch. Part of me is having a hard time talking with the music going on in the background. Makes me nostalgic. Want to go back and play Final Fantasy VI. Or, if nothing else, watch my Let's Play of it. I haven't actually watched that whole series all the way through. Well, maybe. I do watch all of my episodes at least once through when I finish them to make sure they processed okay. So I guess technically I have watched it, I just haven't watched it as a series. But you can die anytime now, Orthros. I am ready to move on. We have bigger fish to fry. You know you're not a fish. You're an octopus. With some awesome teeth. And a really crazy laugh in Final Fantasy 13 too. His voice freaks me out. But that is boss number 2 down. And we get the rune staff. It's actually a pretty awesome item. That does Hilara if you use it in battle. So I'll be using that liberally from now on. But thank you viewers for watching. I hope you enjoyed the first 2 of the Whisperwind Cove bosses and some of the puzzle rooms. We have a few more floors to go. 20 that is. So we'll have more puzzle rooms to do and also 2 more Final Fantasy VI style bosses. So I'll see y'all in my next episode. So long and take care.